What do we do? This is Collect Pokemon and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to talk about Hyper Rare. For those of you who haven't noticed, Hyper Rare will now be a thing in the past. It will no longer be part of our Pokemon sets. The Japanese release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we see that Hyper Rare is no longer there, but they are now replaced by alternative art card, or sometimes we call it SAR. Doesn't matter where you're looking at a trainer card or a Pokemon card, it just no longer exists anymore. So today we're going to go and visit Hyper Rare. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to see if the discontinuation of Hyper Rare will cause a price spike for some of these cards. But to be honest, the conclusion is I have no idea yet. I actually is just bringing out a question for you guys to let me know in the comment section what you guys think. So let's like this video, subscribe to my channel, and let's get into it. Hyper Rare was actually introduced to us in the beginning of Sun and Moon era. Starting with the Sun and Moon base set, we have the Solgaleo Hyper Rare as well as the Lunala Hyper Rare. Follow on, we have our Guardian Rising, and we get our famous Sylveon GX Hyper Rare. And the Sylveon GX Hyper Rare was quite sought after when it was first released because of its pattern. The full art version, a lot of the Hyper Rare cards are very similar to their full art version, but just without the color. But the Sylveon one was quite interesting because it had a quite a unique pattern at the back, and you can see these flower pattern. So it was one of the more sought after Hyper Rare when it was first released. Nevertheless, it was very quickly overtaken by the Charizard GX Hyper Rare in Burning Shadow, which a lot of people still think that opening Burning Shadow will get you a nice Charizard GX. The print quality at that time was horrible. A lot of the Burning Shadow Charizard were, have whitening. They were like really bad centering issue. And, it was, fresh out of the pack. You can get a PS87. So that was how bad it was. And it was a time when PSA graded very, very casually. So a lot of cards that did not deserve a PSA 10 got a PSA 10, especially with this Charizard GX. So, yeah, that's pretty much the introduction to this. And now we're going to go into the different prices of some of these cards and to see if you guys can spot a trend. Because to be very honest, I couldn't yet because we're still waiting for March, the actual official release of the Scarlet and Violet, which means the official discontinuation of the Hyper Rare. The first card we look at is obviously going to be the Charizard GX. This is going to be the most expensive Hyper Rare card. And technically, I was searching up on TCG Player. It's actually the second most expensive secret rare card. Because I can't actually search the word Hyper Rare on TCG Player. The only thing I can search for is secret rare. And obviously, the Umbreon, VMAX is the most expensive one, followed by this Charizard GX. We can see that the price of this actually for the past 6 months has been going up. But note that a lot of the $200 sale comes from the light mint or lightly played holofoil. I do believe that the PSA 10 are going to go up in price for this card because Charizard Collector will find this card to be very, very unique, and due to its difficulty in grading a high grade, those PSA 10 will start spiking up. I believe the last time I checked, it was still hovering around that $2,000 range. It is very likely to jump to $2,500 to around $3,000 very, very soon. The next card that is very popular is obviously our Lugia GX. The price of this card has been going up for the past 3 months. It is comfortably sitting at around $159, $160. So I think that it will likely stay there for a while, unless people start to buy up a lot of these cards because they think that Hyper Rare is a thing in the past. So it'll be interesting to see what happens after this video actually goes live. I currently actually don't own any. Actually, I do have the Charizard, but I don't own many of these Hyper Rare cards. So don't worry, I'm not pumping up the market, and even if I'm pumping up the market, I would not have benefit from it. Next, we have the Reshiram Charizard GX from Unbroken Bond. Yeah, this one is a little sad. The only thing we see is dip. It dipped back down to that $140, $150 price range. So here it kind of goes contradicts our trend. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens next. Same with the Pikachu V Max from Vivid Voltage. Price has been everywhere, and I guess that because Vivid Voltage was reprinted, and that greatly affected the fluctuation of the price of this card. The Mew and Mew GX from Unified Mind. Unified Mind has been slowly growing as a more sought after set, and it only makes sense for this card to grow in price. We're looking at around $120. So to me, a lot of these hyper rare are trying to get that sweet spot of $120 to $140. So that's where it might be heading. Rayquaza from Celestial Storm. Celestial Storm is, again, a very, very small printed set. And from what we know is that, the price of this has been fluctuating a lot. But again, it is settling at that $120 price range. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see if all the hyper rare cards around that $120 range will start moving up in price. Another Charizard and Blaziken. This is from Cosmic Eclipse. It went nowhere but down. But, it hasn't dropped that much. It's still sitting comfortably at around $99. So I think that it will eventually go back up to that $120 price range. But it does seem to me that a lot of people like Charizard on its own. And, any other Charizard with any other stuff, it just does seem like a grab of money, and, the market is simply rejecting some of these cards. We do have a Charizard from Brilliant Star. Again, we see fluctuation in price because a last wave of the Brilliant Star Elite Trainer box was recently sent out, and that is why we're seeing that fluctuation. But nevertheless, the card is still sitting at that $70 price range. Going back to some older sets that are no longer Charizard, we have the Eevee and Snorlax GX. Now this one is a pretty cute card from Team Up, and from what we know, Team Up is going for almost, I think, maybe it's past $1,000 booster box already. So it only makes sense for this card to go up. And this is very logical. It's sitting at around that $74 price range, and yeah, the listed median price is a little high. I just don't think it'll reach that high anytime soon. Now, if you guys think you guys can spot a trend, the next one is going to surprise you. Actually, not this next one. Oops. This one from Team Up also went up in price. Gengar Mimikyu, solid card. The one that is going to surprise you is later on. So here we have Mewtwo GX, Shining Legend. It dropped, but it's stabilizing and slowly moving up in price as well. Now, this is the one that I want to say it's fascinating. Team Up, like I said, is a very, very sought after set. It is very, very expensive for its booster box. But the Pikachu Zekrom has simply just dipped on a very gradual basis in price. And it actually fascinates me because Pikachu is supposed to be a very sought after Pokemon. I really don't know why, if this is underpriced or all the other cards are overpriced. So if you guys have an idea, let me know in the comment section. Moving on, we do have a Falling Blastoise card from Unbroken Bond. We're seeing some of these second tier cards to be at around that $70 price range. And the top tier card, or tier 1 card, we see it at around that $120, $150 price range. And I think some of these other cards are most likely going to be settled there. We do see Suicune GX next in Lost Thunder, sitting at around $57. Same with Mimikyu in Lost Thunder, sitting at around $59. Sylveon, on the other hand, is slowly gaining that popularity. Like I said, Sylveon is a very, very sought after Pokemon. Guardian Rising is not an expensive set yet. So what we're gonna see is that we're gonna see the price of the Guardians Rising to go up, and from that we're gonna see Sylveon price to go up as well. Guardian Rising, even though there weren't a really huge reprint in the recent years or recent 2 years, there was a restock of the Tapu Koko pin box, which contained, I think, 2 packs of the Guardians Rising. So, we do have some supply of the Guardians Rising booster packs. So I think those will be running dry very soon. And therefore, Sylveon price will likely to continue move upward to the $80 price range. Here we have the Lucario GX from Forbidden Light, slowly moving up as well. This one is interesting. Cosmic Eclipse has been seeing a lot of movement, especially in the sealed booster box. The Cosmic Eclipse booster box is selling for around $650 right now. It's been stagnated around the $430, $480 range for a really long time, and it's quite interesting to see that whether that spike in Cosmic Eclipse booster box will cause a spike in many of these cards' price as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I know I kind of just sprinted through the rest of them. I just don't want to bore you guys, but here's what I think. I think that there isn't a specific trend for hyper rare at this point in time, but there definitely will be in the near future. Once Scarlet and Violet is released, for 1 or 2 sets, we're gonna see people buying or chasing up these hyper rare cards, because it's just more difficult to find, and it's no longer in print. Another thing is that I think that some of these hyper rare cards is very difficult to obtain a high PSA 10 grade due to its centering as well as some whitening, pack fresh whitening. So it might be good that if you guys have hyper rare PSA 10 right now, hold on to them. I do believe that the market will eventually gobble them up, and I think that it's not the right time to sell some of these cards right now. If you want to sell something, sell some alternative art, these sort of stuff. Sell some of the more recent kind of sets, which is more likely than ever to get reprinted. So that's pretty much it for this video. I will then later on talk about the Japanese card market, because there has been a lot of movement in the market over eBay, and it's just over in Japan. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Just collect Pokemon. See you later. Bye bye.